Okay, ladies, so I finished stitching it all and it did a great job. That satin stitch is just beautiful. And I trimmed all the jump stitches with the buttonholes. On the back side, I trimmed as much off as I could. And I set the stabilizer, the water-soluble stabilizer, to the side. But before I did, I cut 1.5 inch strips. Cut 2 of them and folded them in half so we could use those pieces for the lace edge trim. Okay, now to cut down your sachet, you are going to measure from the top of the buttonhole over 2.5 inches. So I have it written down here so you can see it. Right here, 2.5 inches. Then from each side, so from each side, you're going to go from here, you're going to line up your ruler like this. And you're going to line it up like that with at the 1.5 inch mark and cut this side. And then you're going to line up the other side with a 1.5 inch mark and cut that as well. So you've trimmed down the top to 2.5 inches. You've trimmed down the sides to 1.5 inches. The next step is you're going to stitch these together using your sewing machine. But before we do that, I want to quickly show you how to cut the buttonholes with a buttonhole cutter. I have a buttonhole cutter and it has a little wooden apple in it, but I have some wooden blocks that I have. So I use these and I'm just going to slide it underneath like that. And then I'm going to chisel the edge back and forth like this. It's kind of hard to do this with. And it'll cut apart your buttonhole. And don't worry about putting fray check or anything on it, because the stabilizer that's in between the, around the edges of the buttonholes here, that'll seal up those threads. So there's my buttonhole. I don't know if you can see that, but I started to cut it. Now, if you haven't seen the buttonhole cutter with the eyelet cutter, the eyelet cutter has an opening at the end for the eyelets. And what you just do is you put it down on your fabric and kind of twist it and turn it. I use this all the time for the eyelets that are on the Kimberbell projects, because they put a lot of eyelets in some of the kits so they can string the lights through. So my next step is to sew these two sides together. And you're going to use, all right, let's see if I can get this here for you. You're going to use, on the directions, it tells you, you can pick up the directions now at number 34. And I should mention too that the sachet should be approximately 14 inches by 14 inches. Mine's like 14.5 by 14, but it works. It's a sachet, it's not gonna matter. So then I'm going to stitch the sides right here, and I'll put the camera on that so you can see the stitching. And you're going to use your IDT, and you're going to sew approximately a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so you can use your 1/4 inch foot if you want to, or you can set your machine for a 1/4 inch right here. Okay, so I'm going to pause the recording now and sew that. Okay, so I'm all set up. I removed my single hole stitch plate. I put on the 1/4 inch foot. I left the thread in just so you could see. And then I turned on the projection. This is my straight stitch right here. And I put the stitch guideline, number 1, at 6 millimeters. And what that did is it brought it over here to 1/4 inch. So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch that 1/4 inch. It's a little tricky here. I like to turn on the tie off first. Oh, gotta put the IDT. I'll put the needle down. Whoops. Oh no, oh no. All right, let's try this again. Put up, needle up, put up. All right, let's try this again. Okay, here we go. All right. Now we're ready. Tied it off, and now I'm going to start stitching. Now the stitch goes off. Remember, the projection goes off when you start to sew. So I'm just lining up that red stitch guide, number 1. Try and get a straight 1/4 inch seam. And then I tie off at the end and then cut. Okay. Now I'm going to pop off the 1/4 inch foot. I'm going to change my stitch to 1.2.1, which is the overcast stitch. Now it calls for foot number 3. And sometimes I use 1A rather than number 3, but I'm going to show you tonight. Yes, it's dark, so it is nighttime. All right, so now it says I have to put my IDT down again before I get started. And then I'm going to do the stitch. I love this stitch. This overcast stitch looks just like a serger stitch without the left and the right needle threads. Your directions say to use a zigzag, but I changed it to the overcast. We might as well use the stitches that we have, all 800 plus. I think I might speed it up a little bit. Now, rather than use that as the edge, I'm just using that to hold that raw edge down. And we're off. I use this a lot. Even though I have a serger, sometimes I'm too lazy to change the thread colors to match whatever I'm working on, especially if I'm mending something. So I'll just use this overcast stitch. Save myself some time. I'll tie off. There it is. Oh, connected. Oh, you got to pull it to the back. That's a point I forgot to share. You pull it to the back because there's a little wire there keeping from curling over. And I don't know if can you see that? Let's see if I can zoom in. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I love it. All righty. Now, the next step is to take and turn down the top by the buttonholes and press 3/4 inch. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in our wing needle and do the wing needle stitching. So I'm going to pause the recording now and get that all set up, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So I thought I'd share this photo with you all. Some of the ladies who were here last night will understand what this picture is all about. I tore apart my room looking for a 120 wing needle. After the class, I said to my husband, we're going out to eat. I'm not going to deal with dinner. So I got in the car, went to get my sunglasses, and lo and behold, that wing needle was in my purse. So I had my husband take a picture of me so you could all appreciate what an idiot I am. Anyhow, let's continue on. So now I'm all set for using the wing needle, and you'll see that in a minute. But first, I'm going to start with the category of stitches that we're going to use. So the directions are a little bit different, so I changed them. I mixed them up a little bit to my liking. So we're going into needle art, the third category. The subcategory is needlework stitches. I played around with some of these other stitches. I tried out 6 and 7, and then I tried 4, and that's the one that I ultimately decided to use. So here's my, I don't know if you can see that, but there's my little sample, and see the big holes that were cut into that fabric, that linen fabric with that wing needle? That's what I was looking for. So I'm using, you can use whichever one you want. I'm using 3.2.4. And when I tapped the information screen, it says that it's a decorative heirloom stitch. When using a wing needle, maximum stitch width is 8 millimeters. So let me close that up and let's see how wide that stitch is. So right now it's 3.0, so in length, and 4.0 in width, so I'm good. Okay, so now I'll just slide over here to my table. Well, I took the embroidery arm off, and now I'm working with just the bed of the machine and free arm. And I have selected the stitch. I have the wing needle in place. Let's see if I can zoom in. And it's thundering out, so we'll see how long this lasts. So what I did, there's my stitch. That's 3.2.4. I set the stitch guide at about 15 millimeters because I wanted it to be not all the way to the edge of the fabric, but approximately about a little more than ½ an inch from the edge of the fabric. So I'm going to use this as my guide, and then I'm just going to start sewing. I haven't changed the thread, I'm leaving it in. And it says that I need to engage the dual feed. So I'm going to just drop that down, engage the dual feed, and then let it go. Don't be sewing too fast. Kind of hard to watch the screen and watch what I'm stitching at the same time. Well, the best I can. I really love this feature with projection. It helps. A lot less marking. All right. Yeah. I love using this free arm. I don't use it that often, but this is a perfect case for it. You've got the tube already created. Just slide that over your free arm. Start stitching. Now, don't try and thread the wing needle with your needle threader. I tried. It doesn't work. Now, if you don't have a 120 wing needle, then use what you have. If you have 100 or 110, it just doesn't punch a big hole. Directions call for 120, so I went along with that. Kathy ordered them for me at the store. and it does the job. All around the bin. Slow it down just a tad. Feels like it's caught. Probably not. All right. Turn off the light in here so you can see what I'm doing using the projection. Sliding over a little bit. I would be a little bit more accurate if I didn't have to worry about whether this is filming or not. Not sounding too great. You notice how you can listen to your machine and decide whether it's sounding the way it's supposed to or not. Now you can use the cutter. The cutter will work. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that. Okay, so that's what happened. It got caught. Interesting. That's why, you know, I listened to my intuition and my ears were working. So what I need to do is pop this out. Oh, look at that. I'm towards the bottom of my bobbin. That's okay because I'm switching now to the Cotty thread. And I am using, I actually wound a bobbin with the Cotty thread. A little brave here, you know. All righty, so there's my bobbin. Take out the wing needle and replace it with, you know, I forgot to mention, you guys, you got to clean out this bobbin case. So make sure you do that. So what I'm going to do is put in my needle and then change to the bi-level foot. We had a question today about the bi-level foot. And it comes with your machine. Whoops, hang on. Whoa, that's a little scary. I'm gonna change it back to, that was very scary. So now I'm gonna pick my techniques and I'm going into 8, 7, and the directions say 4. And my level foot has a channel underneath. I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that channel? This lighting is not the best at night. But I wanted to get this done because I have to get ready for my trip tomorrow. So that's the bi-level foot. And so I'm going to pop that on. And what I wanted to point out, this is a good learning experience or learning teachable moment is what we used to call them. So I'm going to slide over here. And I'm going to point out the information screen. So right now I have my techniques showing. I have stitch number 4, I've selected it. You can see it there. I'm going to close this window here. And now I'm going to look at the screen. There's my stitch that I'm doing. And I'm a little frozen here. So there we go. And if you look up here, let's see if I can get it to focus. Doesn't want to focus. All right, right up here is the foot, and there's a plus. I keep putting my finger in there. That's why it doesn't want to focus. So right here, there's a foot with a plus sign. So it says, when you tap on that, it says it needs a special foot. Now, how do you know what foot it needs? Is you go back into your stitch selection and you hit the question mark and tap your stitch. And now it'll tell you that with the lace edge stitches, you use the bi-level foot and engage the IDT. And then it gives you all the steps to be able to use this. And the last step is to dissolve the water soluble in lukewarm water. Okay, and that's in both machines. That's not unique to this machine. What's unique to this machine is it tells you, now it says it's did you see it was unrecognizable, and now it's back to being a bi-level foot. So now I'm going to slide over here and get it to focus. I'm going to slide this up in here. And this is, you get this underneath your fabric. If not, just like layer it. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but see how I'm putting it underneath that? And now, look at, isn't that cool? I'm going to lower this right on that edge. See how that's lined up? Let me see if I can zoom in, show you. See, the flange that's on this bi-level foot is right there on the edge. So now I'm going to tuck in my stabilizer and clip it. My wonder clips. So it'll hold. Alrighty, now I have to thread the needle. So I'm going to change it. Now I did not change this needle. Let's see how we do. I'm going to lower this down like that. There we go. And then I'm going to lower the foot. Okay. Now I got to get my spool. I didn't want it to drop out, so I'm going to thread the machine real quick. Let's see on film if this works. All righty. Okay, one of the things you want to do is bring the presser foot up, because now you've released the tension discs so you can thread it correctly. And then I'm going to put it through here. Feels a little tight. We'll see. Ta-da. All right. Oh, another thunder. Hopefully I can at least get some stitching done to show you how to do this. And whoops. Uh-oh. All right. That does not sound good. I am going to pause the recording and my sharing. So I made a few changes. One of the things that I did is I switched to stitch number 87.1. That other stitch was going back and forth too much, and that was a little bit too much for that thicker thread. I also brought the tension down. The needle tension was at 3.6. I brought it down to 3.0, and that seemed to do a little bit better. So let's see if I can show you what I'm doing here. It goes backwards, and what you want to remember to do is make sure that when it comes back forward, that it bites onto that fabric. Then you have to pause and tuck your, sure there's an easier way to do this, but right now, while I'm on here, this is it. All right, I'm gonna see if I can't bring this a little closer. I'm not sure this is gonna be the best, but Keep checking to make sure I'm still on. Stick that underneath there. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm tucking it under the free arm. It's hard to do on an angle. I'm trying to do it so that you can see what I'm doing and I have my hand in the way. All right, I'm still working. I'm going to show you, I'm going to stop now. Look at how beautiful that 120 wing needle shows up on this fabric. Now this is 100% Kona cotton. I remember that. That's what I bought. My daughter-in-law picked out the fabric. She wanted a mint green, so I had to order it online because I couldn't find it locally. And her colors were mint and navy. It's a very small wedding, 20 people. It was lovely though. It was on in California, right there on the coast, right off of Route 1, I believe, or some of you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm probably butchering it, I'm sure. This happened to be one of the napkins that was stained, so I didn't feel bad about cleaning it up. That was a great idea, though, Fran. Let me tell you. Napkin, because it was an 18-inch napkin, and I just cut the one side off down to 15. Perfect. You know what? I wonder if I have my lint. You should have seen how dirty. Oh, yes, it's here. Let me pause for a moment. That's why I was having problems, is because look at the lint. That's the lint that came out of that bobbin case. So don't forget to clean it out. I was hoping I could get away with it, but my little princess said no. That's why I made it. Now, once you're all done with this lace edge, you're going to cut off as much of the Aqua Magic as you can, but leave some in, because that's what makes that cotton crisp. Because when you go to press it, hang on. When you go to press it, there'll still be enough of the stabilizer in that cotton thread, and it'll make it nice and crisp. Just like the old days. Remember when they used to starch all the linens so they were like stiff? All of grandmother's crochet or the tatting. This is a 21st century lace making. Can you see it coming around? See my lace stitch? Now, it looks odd, but once you rinse it down, it loosens up, so it's not so stiff or firm looking. Still looks like lace. All right. Now, I want to show you how to do the next rows. So what you want to do is you want the needle to bite into the middle of this. So what I usually do is I end it. So it's not real pretty on the back side. So right here, it gets a little sloppy. So now I want to push the pattern begin, and I want to Let's see if I can move it to show you. See where that stitch is going to go? Now, yes, sometimes it doesn't feed evenly. You just push it. I know. That's not what they, that's not really what people recommend, but you know, this is me we're talking about. Now, I have to get down to make sure I'm getting in the middle of that second row. So pardon me if my head gets in the way. Oh, I'm not having much luck because it's kind of hard for me to see that. Yeah, it's not, it's getting distorted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and cut it because I don't want to ruin it. And then I'll show you how I did that. So here's some of mine. And even though it's not totally perfect, say, questionable, but it works. Okay. And that's why if you can put them in the embroidery side of the machine, it really does make it much simpler. Okay, now I'm going to just pull this off. See how it looks? That's not bad. So by continuing making a mess, I'm just going to probably cut that off right there. I'll just trim that off and then I'll just have the one row. Now for your last step, you're going to turn your sachet inside out. Okay. And I'll back out a little bit. All righty. Okay, there we go. So right down here on the bottom, maybe if I turn the light on now, pardon me. Hopefully that helps. So right here on the bottom, you're going to line this up and press your seam. And then you can sew straight across and box your corners if you want. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. You can sew straight across here and then box your corners. I think you all know what that means. But the directions say to just curve it. So you can just make a soft, gentle curve here and here. And then stitch it. And then do your overcast. Does that make sense? Just stitch over here and then go back and use that overcast stitch again. And overcast it and then rinse it. And don't rinse it thoroughly. You want to rinse it so there's enough of a stiffness in it. But make sure you have all of your stabilizer rinsed out so you can't see it anymore. And then trim all your threads too. Finish cutting your buttonholes. And tomorrow, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, good night, ladies. Thank you. I hope this helped a lot. I really like this format too. I'm frozen. There, I changed it. I'm going to stop sharing. Whoa, it's scary. I'll turn the light back on. My husband always teases me because when I have the lights on, when I'm sewing, because I sew a lot at night. I don't know if any of you do. Whoa, look at the light. He said, you're going to land a plane in here? So this is what it looks like. And once you get your buttonholes cut out, You start at the beginning in the front, okay? And you go in on one buttonhole and then come out at the other buttonhole, go back in. Okay. Maybe I better turn that light off. I don't know. See, can you see how that looks? Because that's there, maybe that helps. But you go in the one buttonhole right here, and then come out on this buttonhole over here, and then back in and go all the way around to the other side and then tie it. Now, yesterday, I showed the ladies that were on the Zoom class how to take potpourri and add some oils to it. It was pretty bad. And I was trying to find my other one. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. Okay. All righty. So what you do is you take some netting like this, and you sew it together. And then I put lavender in here, or if you can find some rose petals or something like that. The potpourri that I got at the dollar store was this big chunky potpourri. And so it smelled terrible. And my husband said it smelled like his mother's aunts did. Now, his mother would be 100 years old. So we're talking a long time ago. And they probably smelled, they put all this stuff on it. So I couldn't stand the smell. I took it out of the room, put it in the back bedroom. And then after the class last night, I put it in the garbage. Now I'll show you my picture so you appreciate it. Okay, hang on. All righty, so I'm gonna pause the recording. So here I am. I couldn't stand it. So just before we went out, I threw both containers and the potpourri in the garbage, where it's going to make my garbage can smell beautiful. So I hope you enjoy my little bit of humor here. And if you have any questions, just ask. Send me an email. I always can reply to you via email. And if you have any concerns, questions, concerns, anything, just send me an email. All right. So good night, ladies. I really enjoy these classes. So it makes me feel like I have a whole bunch of new friends all over the country. All right. Good night.